Check out this lockdown do. All the barbers are shut and well, this is going mental. Starting to look homeless, but it's okay. Hey guys, welcome back to a very windy, very cold unit. There's a reason that most YouTubers live in California because, well, it's not like this, but it's freezing here at the minute. And you'll see from the thumbnail, today we're going to be making some bash bars for the S13. It's not something I've done on previous builds, but the reason I want to do it on this one is because of what the car's going to be used for. It's going to be used for drift and things like that, and it'd be good to have a decent jacking point. The second reason for it is that if you've ever tried to fit big old aftermarket body kits, is they need something stable to sit on, otherwise they're just flopping around loose. So the bash bar is going to be the support that holds everything in place for the front and rear bumpers. The skirts will be fine, but the front and rear bumpers will need this. So we've got the tube bender set up behind me here, and we've got some tube down here and a whole load more over there. This is the leftover stuff from the FC RX-7 roll cage. If you want to see any of that, just go check out the RX-7 playlist. And then we've got the car sitting over here, where we're going to attach the original support mounts on the front. So it'll be these two here that hold the original bar in place, and we'll build something coming off there, and then we'll build a tube coming up an angle, and then we'll have our cross tube on that. And for the back, ignore the damage for the moment, but we've got these inlet supports here where there is a bolt hole that can come up through them. In fact, there's a bolt still in there. There is a bolt hole that can come up through with those, so we can use that to attach this in place. Okay, so the first thing to do is to make our base plates to mount it to, and for that we're going to use some 4mm steel, and it came with some real handy cardboard so we can do our CAD with that. So I'm going to go work out the sizes we need and we'll cut something out. Okay, so you saw me get those base plates made up, and they are both on there now. So we've got one on the passenger side and one on the driver's side. And you also saw me take off all the original supporting stuff. As like with any plan, it sort of changes as you're doing the job. My original plan was to have some tubing coming off of here, and then having one bar going across, and then having a V-bar coming off of that. The trouble is with that is then I'll have to cut a lot of the bumper to make it fit the V-bar because it'll be so far forward. So what I'm thinking now, because the original plans with the engine bay, which you'll see on the engine bay video, was to take these supports out and remake this front bar anyway, I thought, well, actually, if I put a cross member here, coming from this one to this one, I could actually have things like the bonnet support coming off of there, and it'll help give a bit of rigidity to the front end as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bar there with the V coming down for a jacking point, and then we'll have another bar going higher up that will hold the bonnet in place. So I'm going to get this first one cut up and tacked into place. That's the first front bar fully welded in. Excuse my bodge measuring methods, but you know, if it works, it's not a bodge. So we've got that fully welded in now, and it'll take my weight, which is enough. So next thing to do is start measuring up for the V that's going to come down for the jacking point, and we're going to do that off of this bar. Now obviously I can't measure it from the floor because we're currently on completely standard shocks, and well, this thing's like 4 feet off the floor. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure it from the lowest point here, bring it up a little bit, and that should give us plenty of clearance on there because it's going to be sat quite far back from the bumper. So I've done a little bit more technical maths when it comes to creating the V. It is a nice and simple one because it's just one bend, so you haven't got to worry about different planes. But I've marked out that it's 81 centimeters in length. We want to come down 19 centimeters. So anything higher than a 50 degrees would be fine, and we want to be 880 millimeters or 88 centimeters in total length of the bar that we're going to use for the V. So we're going to chop that out, stick it in the bender, and bend it up. So an important thing to know is how to do your bend so that it ends up right in the middle. So what I've done is I've marked the middle point, so this is 88 centimeters, so 44 right in the middle here, and I've got this cheater tube. Now this tube tells me that where I put it in the clamp, this is where the bend will be. So I've just roughly lined up with the middle, which means that then I know that here is where I'm going to want to stick it in the tube bender to get my middle of my bend right there. Okay, so the first thing to do is to put my tube through here. And clamp it into place. Then I can find my mark that I've made for where I want this to be. I can tighten up. Turn up the tube so I've not got any movement there. I'll just give it a nip up. So now I'm going to work my follower in place. So with our tube bolted in and our follower in place, we can now then just set this to 0. So we know that's with the slack taken up, so with a bit of pressure on, that's in the 0 point. And we know that we want to go anywhere past 50. So I'm going to do it to 50 to start off with. We'll test it on the template, and then if we need to go further, we can. Okay, well it looks pretty good on here, but let's see how it looks on the car. So with that set up there, that looks pretty good. So all we need to do is notch out our ends so that we've got a decent level for them to go to, and then we can sit up in place and weld it in place. Cut and welded up, and look how nicely it fits on. So because of these little notches down here, it just clicks straight into place. It's a good height from the front. So I suppose the next thing to do is to bolt it up, and let's try it with a jack. So I've had to take a quick intermission from doing the bash bar because on the R34 I've got to delete the ABS. So the ABS module that's there, because I changed the hubs for ones with extra lock and they don't have the ABS sensors in them, you can't have a part system in there and pass a UK MOT. So what I have to do is delete the whole system out. So I'm going to be using the GK Tech ABS delete system. If you want to see a video on this, I did it on the silver 180sx, so I'll put the video at the link at the end of this video. But yeah, real nice and simple to do, so let's do that. So here we've got all the pieces for the front bar already cut out. So I've got the two supports that come upwards and also the main bar, which I've bent into place. I've also made up this V support to hold the bonnet catch, so that stays sturdy so the bonnet comes down and clamps onto it. These bits, what I'm doing is measuring up the side parts for the uprights to come out of. So just measuring it against the supports I've already made and then cutting it down to size. And you see there I've cut a lip off the side, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld it sort of butted up to the side of it, so it gives a bit of rigidity onto the support plate. So just when you're measuring up the two, just make sure you don't make two the same, because obviously they're for opposite sides. This is then notching the V into it for the bar to sit in, so we can weld it up nicely. As we tap that into place, we can then try the bar on top. And that fits nice and snug, so we'll tap that straight into place as well. And so the finished product is this. This is actually all welded up fully. And you can see we've got our V mounting at the back to jack it on, and then the bar at the front. And the bumper fits all good. Okay, so with the front bar all tied up, it's time to move on to the back, and we're going for a little bit of a different tact on this. Because we've got these little indents here which have bolts, holes that come up through, we're going to use those to be the basis of what our bar comes off of. So what I've done here is I've made up some plates that will fit in and slide into those, and then I've got these 12 bolts that will go through, and I'll put a captive nut on this side so that when it's in there you could just bolt through from the bottom from underneath, and that will hold it in place. For the minute, we're going to hold these in here with one bolt, so we can start making a tube that comes out to hold the main bash bar in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the tube, and we'll measure it back as far enough as here, and we'll end up cutting the tube in half so it sits sort of around it almost, and then it will come up and have the curve coming off there, and that should then sit it somewhere nice and tight to the top here, so almost level with this bit but down a little bit, and then our bumper could sit on top of that. So it's probably easy to show you what I've done, which I've taken that bracket that we made before and then cut the bar down and welded it onto it so we get a bit of rigidity further back, and that then gives us the position. Obviously this is going to be cut down to size, because obviously this one's going to be cut down to size so we can then fit the bar on top, because at the minute it's sitting way too high. So that's the next bit to do, and then bend up the main bar. So see that we welded in the captive nuts. We did all that with the bolts in place for the simple reason that by doing it that way, you're not going to warp anything. So the bolt's going to help dissipate the heat, and you're going to end up, when you take it out, and obviously leave it to cool right down before you remove the bolt, but when you take it out, you're going to have the perfect thread in there. So we've got our captive nuts in there now, so we're just going to pop these into here, and then we can start talking about the bar that goes on top. So we've worked out that the total width we need is 160 centimeters, and I've already bent up this end of the bar to about 70 degrees just because it fits nicely with the end of the car. So then what I've done, from the end point, I've measured in to where the bend starts to form on the tube. If you can see, it goes a bit thinner here, and that was 17 centimeters. So what I've done is done exactly the same measurement on the other side, which takes me to here, and then use my cheater tube to find where I put it in the supporting slot on the die to get the bend to start there. And then what I can do is bend it up, and we'll end up with the same pattern on the other side. So now we've got a bent up bit of tube, we can sit it on there to see exactly how we're looking, and end to end that's looking pretty good, but obviously it's sitting too high. That was intentional. I really wanted to make sure this was too high rather than too low, so I can cut it down to size, and we're going to do that just by using some tube to give us an idea of where we want to be. So I know that the bumper starts to come out from just where this lip here starts to pivot in. So I know that I want the top of the bar to be sitting at that height. Nice and simply, if I get a bit of the same size tube I'm going to be using and put that so it's sort of eye level at that height, and then mark the bottom of it, I know that that is going to be the lowest point I want the V for my swaged cutout for this to sit into. So I'm going to chop it down to about here. I'm going to get the angle straight going across from these two, and then cut my V's into both of them. Okay, so we've cut the V's on both sides for it to sit into, and I've marked out the halfway point so it's equal, and then we can just spin it up this way. And I've done a rough test on the bumper just to make sure that's going to fit over the top. So next thing to do is to hold it up in place, tack each side in, and then we're going to know really where the bumper's going to sit and how it's going to sit on this one. Now we know that the bumper will fit on in the right position. All that's left to do is the V for the jacking point, just like the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I've got left, which is this. This is literally the last bit of roll cage tubing I have, and I'm going to measure in the middle, put a bend in it, and we'll see where that comes out on the car. So quickly just bunged an 80-degree bend into that one, and if I hold that up pretty much central, that's looking pretty good to where we want it to sit. Remember, we've still got to cut out the top sections here for it to butt up to this, so it's not that height, it's that height we're going for there, but that will sit just below the rear bumper, and we'll have a cut out where the jack can go and go into that. So you know the drill, drop these down, throw them up to this, tack them in place, and then once that's in we can weld everything in. See how easy this is to put on. The front one's really easy. I've got a feeling this is going to be a bit more tricky. Okay, well, both the back bolts have gone in quite nicely. The front one's been a right pain in the arse, but I think because we've got those back ones in, we can oosh it a bit. Got my precise adjustment tool. Okay, now that's nice and sturdy on there. That is all for today, but thank you very much for watching, especially if you made it right to the end. If you're looking at building your own bash bars and you've got any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below and I'll see it and reply to it. And obviously, as always, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And if you could do me a real big favour and just share this with anyone you know that you think might enjoy it, I'll really appreciate it. So next up on this 180, we're going to be probably diving into some more interior stuff. Got some exciting stuff with the seats and some trims and bits as well, and then we will be cracking on with the bodywork on it and getting the kit all fitted up. So you've seen a bit of a preview in this one of the front and rear bumpers, but we're going to get all the kits sort of dialed in with the skirts as well, and the over fenders, and hopefully some front wings if we can find some, and get all that kit up so this thing looks a bit better. And then we probably need to address the height of it because it's pretty high. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why are you doing all this before you do the engine stuff? Well, the engine stuff I'm accumulating some bits for, and also it's inspiration. When the car looks good, you want to work on it. So that's my idea at the minute, is doing all the stuff that I know will make it look good, and then it'll be more appealing for me to come up and work on it because I know it's the little bit that's left. Anyway guys, remember to build your projects and I'll catch you next time.